Hello everyone, Nubkeks here and welcome to my guide to the 5 beginning classes in Vermintide 2. In this video I'm going to teach you some basic tips and tricks and what the goal of each of these 5 classes are, because as you probably know, Vermintide 2 is a very difficult game and cooperation is absolutely key. So these tips will really help you get to grips with what you're supposed to be doing and help you win more games.
Times it's hard to tell.
Ah! I got up into the axe.
Before we dive in though, I have to say, don't worry about the scoreboard. The scoreboard is very misleading. When I started playing the game, I thought the scoreboard was quite fun, was quite cool. I saw a lot of the better players, the really experienced guys from Vermintide 1, really giving out about it, and I didn't quite get it, but as I've sunk like 30 hours into the game, I've come to realize that, yeah, it does kind of suck. And you find a lot of people, and I've even had this today while I was recording all of the video for this, loads of games where we had a really tough time because people are chasing scoreboard kills or scoreboard damage instead of doing the job that they were supposed to do. For example, the classic one is Kerillian, the elf, chasing down and just spamming arrows into all the basic enemies, and then suddenly you get jumped by a special enemy and, oh, out of ammo, can't save that person, and then you're in an awful spot. So yeah, don't take the scoreboard too seriously. A much better way to look at the game, which will make you a way better player, is to look at it as having 4 main different roles for each of the hero classes and careers. Alright, so number 1 is Horde Killer, alright, or Cleave. This is all about chopping down the clan rats, the normal enemies, controlling them, doing AoE damage, and dealing with those hordes. Role number 2 is the Special Killer, right? The Sniper. The role for these classes is to kill the specials, right? To get rid of them before they do too much damage. That's their primary role. Role number 3 is I call it like the anti-large role. This is about killing those big, heavily armored Chaos Warriors, and for killing bosses as well. And then finally, role number 4 is the Panic Button. This is a career which has a very powerful career skill, which will help you in those crazy situations, those difficulty spikes, where you get a horde plus a mini-boss, or you get a horde plus several specials at the same time. Oh god, everything's falling apart. Bam, I've got a panic button, I'm ready to go. Okay, let's dive into the classes and let's see where they fall. So first up, we've got the Mercenary for Markus Kruber. I actually think this is one of the best starting classes. He's absolutely fantastic. His passive ability is Paced Strikes. Hitting 3 enemies in one swing grants 10% increased attack speed for 6 seconds. Your attacks cleave through more enemies, and you have increased crit chance. On top of this, his career skill is Morale Boost, where Markus grants nearby allies temporary health and staggers nearby enemies. So you can see, looking at these 2 things, very clear 2 roles that this guy's got. Number 1 being that anti-horde role. He does tremendously well just cleaving through multiple enemies. Now he's pretty slow, and one tip I would give you is you gotta get used to using your dodge button and your block button with this guy. He doesn't dodge very far. So typically what you're going to do is maybe go in, do a couple of swings with your sword, cleave through them, then when you see the enemy getting ready to strike, dodge backwards, and go in, maybe charge up a strong attack, walk forwards, strike the strong attack, move back again, okay? You want to minimize the damage that you're going to take. But your role, for the most part with this, is to just be chopping down those hordes, be protecting your teammates and controlling where the enemy's going to go, just doing tons of AoE damage. His career skill Morale Boost is also a panic button, so this is fantastic when you start to get overwhelmed. Staggering all the nearby enemies gives you a big breather. It can also knock specials off of your allies, for example, a Packmaster, an Assassin. And giving that temporary health is a massive boon as well. It's an absolutely fantastic panic button. So you want to use it in those situations where your team's getting overwhelmed. In terms of ranged weapons and his main weapons then, the greatsword that you start with is actually really good. I actually think it's great. So playing with that will serve you really well. I really like the hatchet as well. The hatchet's fantastic when you get that. It's got longer range. It does a lot of headshots, so it's very good for getting those kills. One thing with the hatchet, and with other weapons too, is you might want to be block cancelling a fair bit. So what this means is some of your attacks are going to be big slashing attacks, some are going to be stabs, some are going to be overhead strikes, that sort of thing. So for example, as Markus, where you want to be, as the Mercenary, where you want to be doing AoE, these cleaving attacks very often, you might want to, for example, with the hatchet, do your strong attack, then throw in a quick block, just tap that block, which will reset your combo, and then go in with the strong attack again, and you'll keep doing that first part of the combo, which is a slash attack. If you go into a second strong attack after your first strong attack, it will do a stab, which isn't going to do that AoE cleave. So you kind of want to tailor your abilities a little bit like that. But yeah, the greatsword's great. With a ranged weapon, you can grab a handgun. The handgun's not bad. If you want to do some extra sniping, if you want to be anti-special, help out with that if your team's lacking that. However, the blunderbuss, which you start off with, is actually fantastic. It's a really strong weapon. You want to use this to deal with specials at short to medium range. And you can also use it to thin out big hordes and do tons of damage to bosses as well. So yeah, as you can see, the Mercenary does loads of things well, and the Mercenary is really strong. So you want to be doing those things with him. Next up, we've got the Ranger Veteran for Bardin. I really hate to say this, I really do, because I love the Dwarf. I love him, I want to see more people playing the Dwarf. I'm really happy whenever I see one in my game. But the Ranger Veteran's pretty terrible. Unfortunately, he's really not very good, especially compared to some of the other classes, and especially compared to the later Dwarf subclasses. It really does feel like you're just powering up to level 7 when you get that Ironbreaker, who's an absolute machine at being anti-horde, being tanky, and controlling the battlefield. The Ironbreaker is so strong. The Ranger Veteran, his passive ability though is Survivalist, so specials drop ammo pickups on death, he's got double ammo capacity, and he has increased reload speed. And then his career skill is Disengage. He'll throw a smoke bomb down that conceals him from enemies whilst he stays inside the cloud. You'll find with this guy, he's kind of like a jack of all trades. He's okay at everything, but he's not great at anything. I recommend playing him with a shotgun. You get the shotgun, I think, at level 2. You'll have a lot more fun with the shotgun. And with this, basically what you're going to be doing is thinning out hordes a little bit with your shotgun, again dealing with specials in short to medium range and doing decent damage to the boss. Your basic weapon, your melee weapon, the two-handed hammer, is okay as well. It's pretty slow, but it's good at those bigger, tougher enemies like the armored guys, you know, the Chaos Warriors, Rothelm, Storm Vermin, that sort of thing. Not bad against them. You can use Disengage pretty creatively as well, so for example, when there's a horde coming in, your team's wants to bring them to it through a choke point, you can kind of sit off to the side, you can pop that Disengage, sit in stealth, and then start shotgunning into the side of the horde and really thin them out. It can be pretty effective. One thing I'd recommend with the hammer, of course, is that your the regular light attacks with the hammer is really going to be single target, but they'll be very good against those tough single enemies. You're going to want to be using your charge attacks to hit the bigger hordes, which will do more of a cleave. When you start off, you'll have the crossbow, so you're going to want to be sniping off the specials. And that's the problem, he's just, compared to, let's say, the elf, the Waystalker at sniping, he's just nowhere near as good. Compared to Kruber at melee, he's nowhere near as good. Compared to the Huntsman or the Bounty Hunter, he's just not as good at doing boss damage. So he just doesn't excel at anything. But stay strong, my friends, because the Ironbreaker, when you get there at level 7, is unbelievably strong. So you can look forward to that. There, it sucks, but that's the way it is right now. Next up, we've got Kerillian, the Waystalker. I think for the early game, for the first few levels, probably the strongest character in the game. She's the anti-special queen. She is super good at killing specials. Her passive ability is Amaranth. This gives her health regen over time. She has doubled ammo capacity, no ranged damage fall off, and ranged weapon zoom. Her career skill is True Shot Volley. She'll shoot a volley of 3 arrows that will seek out enemies in her path. Basically what you want to be doing with Kerillian, you are the ultimate special slayer. You start off with the longbow, and the longbow is fantastic. You want to be headshotting those specials, headshotting Storm Vermin as well. They're the big armored rats, but they don't have any armor on their head, so you can kill them very quickly with a nice headshot. And that's really the very important thing. You're going to see loads of elves playing this terribly. They're going to be awful because they're going to spam all of their ammo into these regular enemies and then have nothing left for the specials. You always want to save at least 10 arrows to deal with the specials. As soon as you hear that special coming up, you want to be looking for them, snipe them, take them out. You want to use your career skill True Shot to deal with this as well. It's kind of like a panic button anti-special. You know, when, oh god, there's a Globadier, I can't quite get an aim on him and he's about to throw a poison bomb that's going to wreck our team. True Shot Volley, take him out. Oh god, like an assassin's just jumped one of my teammates. True shot volley, take him out if I can't aim on time, if I'm not confident. Packmaster just pulled my teammate around a corner. True shot volley, take him out. She also does lots and lots of damage with her melee weapons to hordes, and that's probably what you're going to want to pick in terms of her melee weapons. Anything that's good against those little rats is going to serve you really well. The spear stands out as being amazing. It's got long range, it's very fast. She's not very good at staggering hordes. She's really not tanky, those are her weaknesses. But she does tons of damage to hordes that are controlled. And sniper, god, so yeah, she's very strong, very powerful. Becomes a bit more reasonably balanced as you go later in the game. But yeah, she's very, very good at anti-special. Next up, we have the Witch Hunter Captain for Victor Saltzpyre. Pretty interesting guy, this one, with a lot of quirks in terms of how he plays. So, number one, you've got Witch Hunt, which is his passive ability. Tagged enemies take additional damage. So these are any enemies that you can hit with the T button, and they get that blue outline. You'll do additional damage to them. So that's all the specials, the mini-bosses, the armored enemies, that sort of thing. Your light attack block cost from frontal attacks, you don't have any, so you can basically infinitely block light attacks. Critical hit headshots will instantly slay man-sized enemies. And then his career skill, Animosity, he'll knock back nearby enemies and he'll boost nearby allies' critical hit chance for 8 seconds. So Victor's a bit of a funny one. He kind of falls into the panic button mode with Animosity, which will, again, knocks back everything, knocks specials off. And then giving all of your teammates critical hit, you'll be able to clear out that horde that's knocked down, be able to clear out those specials very well. You can also use this to deal with bosses too, where the stagger's not a huge deal, but the critical hit bonus can help melt down those bosses pretty quickly. He's actually very good as well at crowd control, with the rapier especially. It does a lot of stagger, it's very fast, so you can be very good at dodging, you're very good at blocking as well. Kind of that bit of a duelist playstyle, so you're going to be thinning out the horde with the rapier. One tip I can give with the rapier, in fact 2 tips that you might not pick up on immediately, is that the rapier is very much focused on headshot damage. It does way more damage, in fact 3 tips, way more damage with the headshot. So what you can do, block cancelling is very strong here. The first 2 swings of the rapier both do these broad downward slashes, which are very good for getting headshots. And again, if you crit, you will instantly kill any like normal enemies. So you're going to do those 2 slashes, then do that block cancel, do the 2 slashes again. The 3rd slash comes from the bottom, so you're not going to get a headshot. It's going to do pretty awful damage. So you don't want to be using that one too much. Try to be doing that. The charge attack is super strong as well. It does a lot of damage and it's very accurate. So you want to be using this to hit unarmored parts of the enemies. Again, preferably the head for really good headshot damage. You'll turn out loads of damage with that. Also, you want to look into your key bindings, right? And look for the weapon special. Currently, the rapier is the only weapon with a weapon special in the game like this. It's an additional button. But as you'll notice with Victor, while he's running around, he's got a rapier. He also has a pistol in his other hand, because the rapier is one-handed. The weapon special button will fire your pistol. It's not very accurate, but it has unlimited ammo, and it does pretty decent damage as well, especially if you do get headshots. It's going to do loads of damage. So this can help like thin out the packs a little bit as you're getting in range. It's pretty nifty. So that's a nice little fun bonus that you can use. So yeah, it's kind of hard to play though, because you're using that pistol, you're using your light attacks, there's some block cancelling, being accurate with your strong attacks and trying to get those headshots. A little bit tricky, but very good at thinning out hordes. Can do pretty good damage against the larger enemies as well, and he has a panic button. His brace of pistols, his ranged weapon that you start off with, are pretty solid as well. These will burn through ammo insanely fast. What you basically want to use these for is to deal with specials or bosses at short to medium range. They're not very accurate outside of that. So if there's a special that your teammate, like your elf, can't deal with, an assassin jumps in or something, pull out those pistols and shoot them down really fast. If you press the right click, you'll fire the 2 pistols in rapid succession. It's pretty inaccurate, but will do unbelievable amounts of damage. So there you go, that's Victor, he's pretty cool. Finally then, we have Sienna's Battle Wizard career. Her passive ability is Tranquility. Avoiding damage and not casting spells for 8 seconds will automatically ventilate Overcharge. Overcharge will increase your spell charge speed and you have increased ranged damage. Your career skill is Flame Walk. You'll teleport forward and leave a blanket of fire in your wake. So with Sienna, your role is very much determined by which staff you take. So you can go very much anti-horde, grabbing something like the Conflagration staff or the Flamestorm staff, which is a big flamethrower. Wrecks these large groups of vermin, very strong. If you want to go anti-special, you could grab a Bolt staff, which is going to do headshot damage. It's very accurate. If you want a bit of a mix, the fireball staff that she starts with is pretty good at both of those things, actually. The large fireball that you can charge up will pierce and do some AoE damage, set things on fire. Yeah, that's kind of how you want to tailor Sienna. I do recommend, with the starting classes, you probably want to move more into the Conflagration and the Flamestorm staff once you get them, because you got quite a lot of sniping capabilities with the base classes. You don't have a ton of horde control, so having that flexibility with Sienna, you kind of want to go into that. One thing you might not pick up on, or you might not know about as a beginning player, I certainly did in my first 2 matches, is that you can actually manually vent your heat by pressing and holding down the OR button. However, this does damage to you over time. So you want to use this as little as possible, and that's the really nice thing about the Battle Wizard, is that Tranquility, your passive, is going to start automatically venting. So typically what you're going to do is, okay, there's a big horde coming in, gonna use my charge abilities, I'm going to do some like just big damage, control that horde, build up my heat, then I'm going to pull out my melee weapon, I'm going to wade in and just start taking them out and controlling them with that. She's not very strong at melee, so you have to be quite careful, right? You want to play very defensive in melee. I'd also recommend running around with your melee weapon out most of the time. You can't block with your staff, so you can get caught and take some unnecessary damage, which really sucks. And you'll also find she scales quite nicely into the game when you start getting some health regen. Once you get those level 20 temporary health talents, you can use that to start manually venting more and therefore casting more. But at the start, finding that rhythm of using Tranquility is going to be the key thing to do. The career skill is actually pretty nice. Bear in mind, you have to be careful with how you use it. You don't want to blink into somewhere where you're going to get swarmed and overrun. You can even like blink backwards and leave the flame trail, kite enemies into the flame trail. That can be okay for a bit of extra damage, especially when your heat is built up and you can't use your staff. You can use it to blink past groups of enemies and again leave fire behind, or simply just to escape if you get swarmed, especially at the start. If you're not quite used to it, you might find yourself left behind as you're charging up your staff. That can be a nice get out of jail free card. So yeah, do use it. It seems to go unused quite a bit, but it's actually pretty decent. So there you go, guys. There are my recommendations for the 5 beginning careers. As the Mercenaries, Markus Kruber, be cleaving down those enemies, be that anti-horde machine, and then switch to your blunderbuss to take out bosses and tougher enemies, using the morale boost career skill whenever your team is starting to get overwhelmed. For the dwarf, cry some little dwarfy tears because you're not that great, but just try to, do a little bit of everything, take care of specials when you can, clear out those hordes when you can, and get creative. Get creative with that disengage skill, and then look forward to the level 15 talents and the late game potion trinkets and things like that, where he starts to get really good. But that's how he works. With Elf Waystalker, you are the anti-special specialists. She's special, very special. With her, really focus on killing those specials early. Don't go crazy, chasing in, doing loads of damage, because you just don't stagger enemies that much. You're going to take too much damage yourself. Yeah, a lot of elves are going to have bad habits. Really don't fall into that. Your job is to kill those specials. Kill them. Don't let them kill your team. It's not about chasing the scoreboard, it's about doing what's best for the team, and that's what she excels at. With the Witch Hunter Captain, you're going to be very focused on getting headshots, control enemies, be dodging around, use that dodge button. Dodge button is your friend, use the block button. Block button is your other best friend. Use the animosity skill when your team is getting overwhelmed or to burn down a boss. And yeah, enjoy learning all the light attacks, the block cancels, the charge strikes, and the importance of headshots. There's a lot going on with this guy, but when you get it, he's pretty flexible and he's pretty damn cool. Then finally, with the Battle Wizard, I recommend speccing her into a staff that does good AoE damage, and to focus on that, dealing with those large hordes, controlling them, setting them on fire. When a rat's panicking and he's on fire, he's not hitting your teammates. And then get that rhythm of, knowing when to cast your spells. And then relying on that Tranquility. Play very safe when you're going with your melee weapon. If you take damage, Tranquility gets cancelled. It's very bad. You're not very strong in melee anyway. So be safe, be careful. And then, yeah, take out those hordes with your abilities. And help out with the anti-special every now and again as well. So there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Let me know if you want to see more Vermintide 2 guides. And yeah, I will see you probably on stream or on YouTube here for some more Vermintide 2 stuff. I'm totally hooked on the game. Like I said, over 30 hours into the pre-order beta already. Looking forward to playing the full release. It's going to be fantastic. So see you guys all there. See you soon. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.